Now, if you are a dragon or exited dragon player, the good news is, in this video, I'm going to show you one of my pet tricky line, which not only contains a lot of tricks, but important point is, there is hardly any theory on this line. So occasionally you can use this in a professional tournament as a complete surprise weapon. The Sicilian Hungarian variation arises after the following order: e4, c5, knight to f3, g6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4. And as I have highlighted over here, the major choice of the black is to play knight to c6 or bishop to g7. However, we are going to play this surprising move, knight to f6. The good point about knight to f6 is it's straight away attacking on e4, so it completely stops some of the annoying system by white, such as Marcosi bind with c4. White also doesn't want to play f3 because it will completely weaken this g1 to e7 diagonal. For the beginners, you should know that white can never push this pawn because of the simple queen check, and within the fifth move of the game, black wins a pawn. So more or less here, white is forced to play knight to c3, and if black continue with d6, then we will transpose to the main line dragon. But once again, we are going to continue with our surprising opening, bishop to g7. Now the only drawback you can say of this line is, if white is careful enough, then at this position he can play the move e5, and then black has nothing better to play knight to g8. However, it will still transpose to the Kasparov variation, and I have attached a sample line in the PGA where black obtain a decent equality. So far I have played this line in more than 50 games, and e5 has been occurred only 3 times. What I found out is many white players routinely churn out this mainline move such as bishop to e3 because they don't want to involve in other lines and they are relying on their own theory. Okay, black is going to castle now, and if white is not careful enough, then black will achieve its thematic break b5 and get a clear-cut equalizer. At this position, e5 is not good either, because after e5, knight to e8, f4, d6, pawn takes and knight takes. Only thing white has done is weaken his white king with this move f4, and later on black can easily target those squares. If you check this position in online database, you will find out that the highestly played move in this position is bishop to c4, and it's logical as well. It's one of the mainline move in many Sicilian lines because it's completely stopped the d5 idea by black. And yes, indeed, it's true, except there is big difference that black hasn't committed knight to c6, and that allowed this wonderful blow in the opening. Bam! So just because black hasn't committed knight to c6, black can execute this tactical idea, and we are about to see more fun in this line. Now, as I have highlighted over here, white has 2 choices, but amongst them, bishop captures f7 is the worst one, because after rook captures f7 and knight captures e4, white has given up the bishop pair, and in the long run, white is going to pay for this. To give you a brief idea how comfortable black position is, I reached this position against a 2000 rated opponent, where I continue with knight to c6, pressurizing the d4 square. My opponent continued with logical knight to g5, attacking the rook. I first of all played queen check, and after bishop to d2, queen to e5 happened. So now black is attacking 2 spots, so white response is force. White has to play knight to e2, but there comes rook to f5, once again attacking 2 spots, and after the following continuation, that is bishop to c3, queen to b5, bishop captures g7, king captures g7, knight to f3, and queen captures b2. Within the 15 moves of the game, black is a healthy pawn up and white has hardly any compensation for it. The more frequent response here is knight captures e4, which is very logical. White is saying that okay, you can have your piece back, but then I'll get my pawn back and we are equal, right? Well, it's not that simple because of course black is going to play the move d5. And now here white has three choices. First of all, bishop captures d5 is not a good option. The simple reason is after queen captures d5, we are attacking the knight. The knight cannot move as g2 pawn will drop. So by force, white has to play the move f3. And after that, we are going to continue with our normal piece development such as knight to c6. And apart from obtaining the bishop pair, white has some dark square weaknesses which can be easily exploited later part of the middle game. The most obvious choice from the white is to play bishop to d3. And after black recapture the piece, white recapture his pawn and arguing that what you have achieved. Well, here comes the whole point. You are about to witness a very beautiful trick just in the opening which will completely finish your opponent. Now, before I show it to you, I like you to pause this video and find out what is a continuation which gives black a completely upper hand. Did you find it? Let's see. The winning combo start with a very obvious move, f5. White has two choices. First, knight to e6 is not good. The simple reason is after bishop captures e6, queen captures queen, rook captures queen, and now obviously white can take the rook in the corner with bishop captures b7. But the bottom line is after bishop captures b2, rook to d1, knight to d7, bishop captures a8, and rook captures a8. Black emerged with a 2 minor piece against a rook, which always gives black a decisive advantage. I have attached a sample line in the PGA which will guide you how black can execute his winning plan. I reached this position in more than 25 games and probably 90% of my opponent has played the move bishop to d3 thinking that there is nothing going on in this position. But here comes the super shock. Boom! So now we are dislodging the bishop which is supporting the knight. And still white is not losing a piece. But trust me, it's not easy to see how white can retain his piece. Many of my opponent has just given up a piece and I have quickly finished the game. But the most critical line is here white can play bishop to c4, giving a check. And after king to h8, white has this good move, knight to b5, which in fact never has been played by any of my opponent. Anyways, we still need to see how black get an advantageous position if your opponent continue with this line. Here, black should continue with f captures e3, queen captures queen, rook captures queen, and now knight to c7, the obvious grabbing the rook in the corner policy. But here it's completely different than last variation because now we can play pawn captures f7, giving a check. If king to f1, then rook to d2 is a very strong reply. And that pawn is a nuisance in the white camp. So more or less, white has to take this pawn. And after that, we are going to give this check again. And it doesn't matter wherever king goes, he will get a sequence of checks. For example, one game against a FIDE master continue with king to e1, bishop captures b2, rook to b1, bishop to c3 check, king to e2, bishop to g4 check. If king to e3, then rook to c8 is a very strong reply. So white played here king to d3, attacking the bishop, but after bishop to f6, Knight captures e8. Knight to 7, attacking the knight. White obviously tried to save the knight with knight to c7. But there comes rook to c8, lining up against two pieces, and by force, black is going to get one of them. In the game, knight to d5 happened, but after knight check, king to d2, and knight captures c4 check, after the whole sequence, black obtained a 2 bishop and a pawn against a rook, which is always going to be a decisive winning factor for the black game. At this position, the third option, knight to b5, probably the strongest and suggested by the engine. But as a human, if you are facing this position first time, I don't think so. Hardly any of your opponent are going to churn out this move. Anyways, we need to see how we are going to deal with this line, and my recommendation is you continue with a6. So white has few pieces hanging, but white's idea is he wants to play queen captures d5, and here black response is force. Black has to capture the knight on the b5 square. If queen captures b5, then bishop to d7 is a very strong reply, and I have attached a sample line in the PGA. But in one online game, my 2100 rated opponent continued with castle on the queen side, which is in fact one of the strong moves in this position. But I calmly continue with queen to e5. So now indeed black is attacking this bishop, and if bishop to b3, then bishop to e6 is a very strong reply. So my opponent grabbed the b5 pawn, I exchanged the queen, and the net result is I got the a2 pawn and attack on b2 beyond. So my opponent has to forcefully continue with c3, but there comes bishop to f5, attacking the knight, f3, defending, and now comes rook to c8. And we don't need to go further. You can easily see that black has two raking bishop along with these deadly rooks, and if anyone has a winning chances in this position, it's only black due to his tremendous piece activity. Well, I hope with this mini lecture on the Sicilian Hungarian variation, you are now confident enough to use this line as a surprise weapon in your professional tournament.